I had fun with this guest. His name is Marcus Rader. Here, check it out. I'm just going to recite what I read on his Twitter handle. Entrepreneur with a passion in making people smile, dabbling in businesses, investor quite successfully, I now know, mining, and get this, ghost hunting. As soon as I read that, I said to my friend, get this man on the show. We have on Marcus. Now, I'm going to ask you, aren't you ever scared shitless of going out to these places with the thought that what if something follows you home?
No. And it's
Why?
funny. It's everyone's first question is, are you scared? I don't know why. I just am not. I'm maybe my excitement takes over. I've never really been scared of ghosts, and maybe that I wasn't very young when I got into it. I was 16 when I first sort of experienced and saw ghosts.
Stop there. What was that?
So what happened is my cousin actually died when I was 16 back in Germany, and he was I don't have brothers. He was my only male sort of I guess, I was idolizing him and we became very close.
Sure.
And I came to Australia when I was 10 years old. And when I was 16, he passed away. He died. And for some reason, we did a seance once. And I was working at a theme park, Adventure World. In fact, I was a koala. That's a whole different story. And so all of us went and we decided to do a seance. And I didn't believe in this. I thought, whatever.
There's the problem right there.
I've only done one or two since then. I'm not a fan of them because I do believe it opens up a sort of a gateway.
A gateway, yeah.
Yeah, but we did this, and I'm like, yeah, okay, and this thing's being thrown around the table a bit. And then I said, okay, if this is really you, so I'm going to take my hand off and you spell my cousin's name because he said your cousin says hello. So I took my finger off, I just stepped there and it spelled out his name. Now, my cousin's name is Sven Onke. Half the people, in fact, most of the people didn't even know I had a cousin. And I just went, wow. And then we couldn't smash the glass and things got a little bit out of control. And I remember the next morning riding my little BMX bike home, so happy because I'm not religious, very religious. I didn't know what happened when we do die. And in my head, I'm thinking, it's not the end. Something's afterwards.
Oh, okay.
And since then, at home, I would, the door, I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I'd be paralyzed and I'd just focus on the door and the door would open. And I'd hear a screaming noise or probably more a high-pitched noise in my ear.
I know what that is.
The high-pitched noise?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you know, Tammy was the girl that I told you came on?
Yes,
She
yes.
had a Sixth Sense upbringing.
Yeah.
She was, when I said that, I said, I get this high pitch. And she looked at me. She goes, do you? And I said, yeah. She goes, I do. And my other cousins were like, what the hell are you guys talking about? And I said, I get this really high, this, and I know something's coming. Like everything gets goosebumps. And you're the other person that said that.
You're right. Yeah.
I don't know if it's a common thing. Maybe.
I'm not sure either. I've actually, probably you're the first person who's actually said your eyes just went as if you knew and so yeah. And that would happen on a regular basis and the door would be open. I'd wake up in the morning and that was all I really had for a while. And then I guess I just started seeing, maybe not a Sixth Sense, seeing dead people, so to speak.
So you did see?
Yes, yeah. I would see them. I joined the Navy when I was just after I was 16, 17. Same thing with the door would happen. I was at HMAS Cerberus over in Melbourne and, we had blocks and the doors would be shut and I'd be on the bunk and there'd be, we'd have bunks and exactly the same thing. And I'd get, not get in trouble, but we'd all get in trouble because the doors open on, so it was something that followed me, so to speak. And I don't know why, I still don't know to this day why, but that's when things started to, and it opened up my mind, I guess.
What, because of the seance, you think?
I'm not sure if that's what started it, but it was pretty much very shortly after that. So, and then, I've had different jobs since then, obviously, and some jobs where I would come across, it was my job to deal with fatalities or,
as a police?
Running. Yes, correct, yeah. Even before that, I used to run a hotel in Kalgoorlie, and I would close the nightclub at 3 a.m, and it was part of the hotel, and I'd walk back to my room, and I could feel someone walking behind me. Turn around, didn't see anything, and then most nights, all of a sudden, this guy with the top hat would sit at the end of the bed.
Really?
Yeah, and it was a regular thing. But getting back to your question, I was never scared. It was
more intriguing.
Yes, yeah, and
I wanted to know more and more.
100%. And I always say, I think it's the humans you got to be scared of.
Yeah, true.
I don't. I haven't heard of many stories where people do get physically hurt. I haven't yet. Touch wood, but it's. I don't find that fearful. I just find it interesting.
Yeah, do you know, it's like we've had some great experiences, but some negative experiences too. Like my sister at 2 years old, she's had an English soldier with no shirt and a big watch follow her right through to adulthood.
Wow.
And we knew how it all happened because she kept waking up in the middle in the cot, pointing to the corner of the room saying, man, big watch, like every night, all the time. And my parents, what happened then is my dad met someone at work, said he could deal with this sort of a thing. Didn't tell him what was happening, just said we've got disturbances at home. So he came home one day and my grandmother and mother and my sister were at the dining table. And we lived in a 100-year-old house in London.
Wow.
And so he walked around and they said, in the bedroom, this is where it's happening. He's appearing to my daughter in the bedroom. And he goes, do you have some raw rice? I'm like, okay. So we gave him raw rice and he went around the dining table and he said these prayers and went around the dining table. And he left. So it's just, to mum, it was just a load of hogwash because this guy didn't even go in the bedroom. And my dad came home.
Yeah.
And he said, don't say that, because he actually came back to my work and said the minute he walked in, there was this tall English soldier with a big watch, no shirt, leaning over Fern, my sister. And so what he did is he walked around the table and said, the young girl can see you. You're scaring her and she's not sleeping. Can you just leave her alone? And yes, he left, but then that opened the doorway to so many more things. And then it hit her kids. My sister had 4 kids, and similar things started to happen to them. And where one was physically attacked. So that's I lost a cousin. I lost a cousin, not here, but through like post-Buddhist monk exorcisms.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And
can I interview you?
well, yeah, I could keep going.
Yeah,
but I'd rather do it. Talking to you.
What I mean is, like, that's incredible. Like, see, when it comes to, like I said, I'm not religious. If you ask me about the different types of paranormal sensitives that people have, or how they see or hear, and I don't know the specific names. I've lived with it, and I enjoy entertainment, I guess, but I can put hand on heart. If you have a look at my channel, there's nothing made up. It is 100%.
I wouldn't have asked you on if that was the case. I saw you were a genuine guy, and there were things that you were pointing out, and that, to me, I'd be sitting there going, oh God, like, some of the places you've been to, and that's some of the questions I was going to ask. Like in Perth itself, what's one of those locations that really stood out to you?
There's been a couple, but I think one which we intended to just do an introduction and we still to this day want to go into the Fremantle prison. Now, it's got a huge past, and one of the things I'd love to do on the show is get a historian to come along and talk about the past and everything else, because it sort of links up, and hoping that historian is a little bit skeptical. I always invite skeptical people to come along because...
skeptics are listening to the show.
Correct, that's right. So and to show that, Anyway, so my partner Lulu and myself decided to go and do an intro. So we drove up and we parked the car, and I had my video out, and I just sort of said, look, let you guys know we've got a show coming soon to do Fremantle Prison. Here we are out the front, and it was at night. It might have been 10 o'clock or something, and then I thought, shit, you know what? They're spirits. I don't need to go inside to see if I can connect with them.
True.
They could maybe come out here. So I said, change of plan, let's do something. So we walked around the front.
And that's what you felt anyway. Yes. So you got to go with that.
100%. And as soon as we walked through the front gate where the visitors centre was, which was open to the public, it's just the front lawn area. As soon as I walked in there, it was just ice cold. And I know that feeling. When you feel that ice cold feeling It's not always seeing someone. It's quite often just
A lot of it is just feeling.
feeling. Yeah, it's the energy. And I mean, it's, we're all energy, but spirits have, a way of coming across that way. So we went for a walk around the building, and then we went back to the visitor centre because I just sort of felt that there was something there. And we do have a spirit box. We use some, technical tools.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
What they are. I don't know.
So basically they have their frequency that they basically scan through 700 radio channels frequency. And obviously radio people talk. So there's voices and they go,
Sure.
and you'll have little voices. And it's believed that the spirits, and I believe it very strongly now because I've seen the evidence, that they can actually talk to you through these frequencies. Yeah. So we use that. And quite often at the time, you try to listen. You're not always picking everything up. But we picked up a guy called Paul who went over and over, and he kept saying that he was there. And then all of a sudden,
this is on one of your videos.
Yes, it is. Yeah, yeah. Oh, did you?
I'm like, where have I heard this?
I've
watched this video.
It was only meant to be an intro. Yeah.
Okay.
And it was quite funny because I could feel his presence. I tried to find out more about him, and he wasn't sort of coming forth, but I could definitely feel him. And at one point, we also have a K2 meter, which is an electric magnetic meter, which admittedly you put it up against the wall where there's a power point, it's going to start arcing.
Oh, okay.
But you can hold it out.
So electrical fields.
Correct, yes.
Right.
And spirits, again, when they come close to that, because their energy will make that spike. And it was spiking. And you can ask them, so look, if you're here, Paul, if that's you that I'm talking to, Paul, can you make the K2 meter spike? And it was. Whenever I asked him to, he lit it up. And then he gave me a big bear hug to the point that I was actually, and you can ask Lulu this, so I was actually having trouble breathing. It was like really, and it was like I was going to come up to you.
But it was more from a place of affection rather than.
There was I didn't feel any negative energy. No, it was quite, I'm not going to say I enjoyed the hug because from Paul, but it was it was like he was showing me I'm here. And then I said, mate, just please let go. And then bang, off it went. And ironically, I said, look, do you want us to leave? And it spiked. And I said, look, you need to respect that. So we did leave. And as we walked out, the bells went off on the big clock in Fremantle, and it was actually quite interesting. But
they were meant to go off, or they
well, it might have been that time, I'm not sure, but it was just ironic
at that time.
Yeah. But I guess it just made it interesting. But what happened later was a friend of mine was having a look at the raw footage as I was editing it. He goes, can you just go back at that? I said, okay.
Here we go.
And there's a face in the window. And it is a very, and prior to that, Lulu was doing the camera work. She went up to the window, that particular window, looked through it and everything, and then walked off. It wasn't there. Now, there was a face, a big, burly, bald-headed guy looking down over my shoulder, which is where the window was behind me. Now, I didn't see it. In fact, it was my friend that picked it up when he saw the raw footage as I was editing it, because he came over for a beer and we were editing, and I was saying, look, we did this last night, and let's go back, have a look at that. And we did, and it's there. It's actually outlined, and I've got the photo, and I can show you the photo.
So, Marcus, what do you think? I've always wanted to know, they're communicating within these frequencies, right? It's funny because I was telling Lulu that, we lost my sister about 2 years ago.
Oh,
and often, if people that knew her wanted her to come to, like, they'll go visit these psychics. And I kept saying, like, it's funny with me, if I'm calling her here, I would rather know that she has left this place and gone to something totally better.
Yes.
Why the fuck are you hanging around here amongst this loss? Are the people here keeping you here because they won't let you go? Or is it that she's come because we're calling her through this, like, come on, say something? And I didn't want to be responsible for that.
No.
But I don't know. And I do know that I said to her, because my sister and I, even though we were 10 years apart, we were like twins. Yes. And our conversations would involve, since childhood, what comes after death.
Yep.
Like, where do we go? How do we? And then she'll go, Wayne, have a look at what dreams may come. I think it could be something like that. And then we'd talk to Buddhist monks in Burma about the afterlife. And then they would give us, because they also work on things like dimensions. They believe there's different dimensions.
Realms. Yes. Yeah.
Different realms.
Yeah.
And so, and they believe that every now and then when a seance happens, it opens a gate and something from a lower realm could enter this realm. And you have problems with that, you know. But they was just so nonchalant about they can't hurt you. And I was like, not the ones I've seen. Do you really want to try? You know, you're not going to hurt me.
Yeah, exactly.
Glass goes past.
Yeah.
But is there, what do you believe? Do you believe that they come because you are calling them, or they are present there anyway and they just haven't learned how to move on?
It's a bit of both. It's hard. I don't know the answer to that, but you asked me earlier on if I was ever worried if they attach themselves to me. Now, you know, I can feel when they're around, but if, for example, we go to a haunted place where, you know, a certain lady's been there, you know, for 150 years, I find it very hard to believe when I go that she's going to attach herself to me and want to come home with me if she's been there. And
why? You're a strapping, good-looking lad.
Stop it. Only I say that to myself. No, but you see, I think I actually sometimes think there may be, perhaps they believe there's unfinished business.
Yeah.
Quite often I have heard stories.
They don't know they're dead.
No, that's right. Or they're even, or they died in a traumatic way, and they're too scared to go anywhere. I had a friend whose sister had a haunted house. When I say haunted house, they had poltergeist activity. And they actually filmed it, and you can literally see, you know, and it was a dark shadow. Now, when you see dark shadows, it generally is a negative energy.
Yeah.
You know,
you
there's
feel
also
it.
white orbs. Yes, you do. Yeah, it's incredible. So, and it was come past, and then all of a sudden the manhole was up towards the ceiling would then move and open and even come down. And it happened over and over. So my friend asked me to go and have a look because the sister had moved out into his house. So he goes, please, I love her, but she needs to go back home. Can you go and have a look? So
I love her. But.
Yeah, that's right. And I went there and it was there for a couple of hours, and I spoke to whoever it may have been, and it turned out to be someone from the 1950s. It was this is down a new development towards Byford is where the house was,
right?
And but they were there in an older house, and then again through the spirit box, we got indications that he was killed there. He was a servant, and he wanted to move on. And I said, look, I can help you, and I did sage the house as well, because they asked me to, and it's something that I haven't really done. I'm not a big, I don't know how sage moves on spirits. I'm not
sure.
But we did that, and the day after that, it never came back, and it was done.
That does work.
Yes, yeah. And just talking to him and saying, look, have a look for your relatives that you may see them on the other side, and they'll, someone will come and I think one of the last words that he said, we didn't film this, by the way, obviously it was was thank you, and that was the last word we heard from this person.
Really?
Yeah, and he wasn't a nasty person, but I think again we believe that because he was a servant, he was trying to get out of the house, so he's going through the manhole because he was
oh okay
he was locked in wherever he was.
Yeah.
So that was sort of the indication we got, and he was scared of the people from the UK. That was something else he said. So, was he perhaps Indigenous? I
could be
speculate, but so that's so you can move them on, and I've heard of that, and that sort of showed that.
Yeah. Do you know? I'm always weary because a friend of mine, Chris, he was quite a bit older, and he was a news cameraman. And he was very curious about this world. And he was telling me a story that he went to a seance once, and he was, participating. And this person came through, and what was the name was his grandmother's name. And so he said, are you my grandmother? It said, yes. And he said, and then he started to go, okay, when did you die? And say, how did you die? And then what was the third or fourth question was, he just kept asking, because he was a skeptic. So he couldn't believe what was happening. And he goes, what was your first pet's name? And then it says, don't test, you effing bastard, all the swear words.
Is that right?
Don't you test me, don't you test me. And then he realized that it wasn't his grandmother, but it knew all these details about his grandmother.
Yeah.
He was telling me that, and that just scared the shit out of me. And I just thought, how do you know?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
how do you really know whether it's just a lost soul or something that's a little bit more sinister that
That's
is trying to manipulate
Yes.
who you are in order
Yeah.
to discover a weakness that then they can hold on to in fear?
Exactly.
That's what scares me, you know?
Yeah, that is a scary part of it, and you don't know because you can't. I'm sitting across from you. I know you, Wayne. You know,
Yeah.
whereas when a seance is very, you know, you don't know if it's a negative energy, and I, like I said, I don't make a habit of it. I've probably done 3 or 4, and all of them have worked very, very well. If that's the word to use, but again, you know, you can only, like you said, I could ask a question, and they'll answer it, but who's to say that? You know, it could be a demonic. And,
Do you believe in demons?
Oh, I do.
That
Yes.
there are?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. They're very negative
Mm.
energies. Like I said, I'm not religious. I'm not a believer in heaven and hell, and but I do.
Well, I'm not.
No.
Oh, but I can tell you all about the Bible,
Yeah.
and all about the Quran, and all, because I love reading.
Yes.
And I love to get the top theologists, scholars of those religions on.
Yes.
But even though I know that, I think, God, we're a 250,000-year-old species. We're still very, very new, very primitive. For us to even comprehend and what the existence is after this life, I don't think we can even go there.
No.
So I think we work it out as best as we can.
Yes.
But for people like you and I, at least we're asking those questions.
We are, and I think, you know, you mentioned the realms before, and I believe the top realm is where our spirit will go, as in, when I say our spirit, our soul, whatever you want to call it. I believe we're trapped in
Sure.
I believe this is a training ground in short. Something, I guess, a little bit separate from hauntings experiences is that you know, I've found myself astral traveling a fair bit, and I have, you know, left the house, and I've you know, always gone a bit further, and I used to be able to do it quite regularly if I wanted to. Now it's been, for whatever reason, it hasn't come as often, but I truly believe that, you know, you can exit your body. I've stood there and seen myself sleep, which is very freaky. And if you
I've
panic,
heard
you'll
stories.
be straight
I
back.
haven't, for me, no, but a very close friend of mine, it happened to her.
Yeah, and then I also believe that we chose this life as a spirit. This is, again, my personal belief.
Okay.
That, you know, we've chosen this life, and every life is obviously different, whether, you know, it could be a traumatic one, it could be a good one, successful one, whatever it might be. And it's basically just teaching our soul. It's a training ground for our souls to work our way up the realms to what we want to call maybe heaven. Because right at the bottom is where, you know, I don't believe that, this is no disrespect to any religion, but I don't believe personally that if I don't say I believe in Jesus, I'm going to be, you know, in hell forever and ever and ever.
Well, do you know, if that is the case, then that's not a God I want to follow afterwards.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
You know?
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. And, you know, again, not having to dig at religions, but you know, we've all lost loved ones, no doubt. And you know, when all you hear is have faith, it's, you know,
Faith's a funny word.
It's a very big word, isn't it? It has a lot of meaning.
You know, I heard faith was invented to prevent the poor people from killing the rich.
Oh, really?
Because, you know, suddenly there's karma and, you know, religion.
Yes.
Religion as well. Faith and religion were created to prevent the poor from killing the rich, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I personally believe religion's very much, again, I'm not, but it's a way of controlling people, I think.
But it is. But I often say to people, you know, if it makes you a better person, non-judgmental, and you're a better parent and you're a better friend, then so be it.
It's a good thing.
It's a good thing. Yeah. It's how, like anything, it's how you utilize what your beliefs are. Like I've read a lot about Greek mythology, and, you know, I subscribe to a lot of that because they were flawed themselves.
Yes.
You know, so when the shitty things happen in life, they're like, well, the gods are flawed. But, you know, Zeus sleeps around and Poseidon's moody as fuck.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, the grapes were off.
Yeah. And it's like, if something happens, like, oh, Poseidon, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
But the all-knowing gods today, then I often say that if they're all-knowing, then surely they would have known when they sent these prophets down that it was going to turn and divide people against each other. And millions of people in our history have lost their lives due to religious wars.
Yeah.
surely they would have known that.
Yes. Yeah.
So, when I don't know if you know, but it's a funny thing, religion, because it gets people to believe in their belief structure. It shows you how powerful it can be.
It's because people want to believe as well.
People want to believe.
If they don't know something and they want to attach themselves, and you hear a lot of people go to religion when something traumatic's happened.
Yeah.
Because they want to believe. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, like you said, but
I think it's good, and I think it can be bad when you force that belief on others, But look, getting away from that, you just mentioned one of my favorite TV shows of all time, X-Files.
Oh, did I?
I want to believe, they want to believe.
That's right. Yeah.
Now, do you believe in extraterrestrial life?
Do you know, it's funny. I don't believe that it's not there.
All the demographic out there is like this.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's I don't, because we don't know if there's a line between the two. If the spirits we're talking to is actually
that's my next question.
Yeah, you know what? I haven't even thought about that until you've just thrown this in the mix. And you look at the stars, you look at everything. We don't know what's beyond.
That's right.
Right? You can't fucking tell me that there's not another life in our universe.
Of course.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do believe that.
There has to be.
Yeah.
And who's to say they're smarter than us? Yes, Gomo, they may be smarter than us.
And not just smarter than us. It's like, I've heard that it's like us trying to teach physics to a cockroach.
Yes.
Yes. Like they could be that far evolved where we consider it being the spiritual. It's like the ancients looked back at the ancient Egyptian gods, and the pharaohs. They were gods here on earth, But how do you know that at some time in our evolution, we had this extraterrestrial intervention that came in and said, and like, that's why I've had alone time in the Great Pyramid, in the King's Chamber.
No.
Yeah. We were in there for like 40 minutes alone.
No way.
I went up to all the things, and then we listened to all the stories.
Feel?
It was amazing because even the security guard, he goes, go over the coffer. They believe, a lot of historians believe it's a tomb. I don't believe it's a tomb at all because there's no hieroglyphs in there. Tombs are full of hieroglyphs. And he goes, if you put your head over the coffer, it's this open, it looks like this huge, it looks like where a body would lie, but it's not. You feel this energy coming through. It's crazy, yeah.
It's like the vibration sort of.
And one lady turned around, and she was a historian, Egyptologist, and her saying was fantastic. She said, I'd hate to be in here when it's working. Amazing times in Egypt.
That's incredible.
And Marcus, honestly, you walk away going, there's something more. Like we know, I think from my experience and your experiences, you know there's something. What it is, we know a small part of it, and then you've got, people that have had experiences with like cases like abduction and things like that. Now, like you, I've always looked at that line like, okay, so some people, religious people, would look at abduction and say it's night terror and possession.
Yes, demonic, and it's Satan playing out.
And somebody that looks at the spiritual from that perspective would go, that's an abductee. He's an abductee. And I often think, wow. But, I'm more inclined, I do think there is two separate things.
Yeah.
I do believe there is a spiritual dimension that we, like you said, you speak on separate frequencies.
Yes.
That proves already there's a frequency that you can hear them, and there's a magnetic field. What was that thing you called?
A K2 meter.
K2 meter. So I do believe there's dimensions and frequencies, and within that dimension, I do believe there's negative and positive forces.
Yeah. Well, talking about the K2 meter, I have to tell you this story very quickly. It was only about less than a week ago that Lulu, myself, and a friend of ours decided to go to the Australia's oldest, still existing, not working, crematorium in Woodman's Point, which is not far from where we live. So we decided to go out there at night, and I haven't actually edited this yet, but it's crazy because Lulu had one camera, Neil, my friend, had the other camera. I was sort of walking through and trying to communicate with the spirit box and everything. And in front of the actual crematorium, not much happened. It spiked a little bit. We kept getting a name, Bree. Weren't too sure. So then next to the crematorium is a cement, one big concrete slab. That's all that's left. And it's got one big drain in the middle, which goes off to where there's a, sewage type thing. That's been there, and that's actually the mortuary where they would do the autopsies.
Right.
So to stand there and go, well, all the bodies and everything's just, it's pretty insane. Now, I did the same. I got the K2 meter out, which wasn't spiking much at the crematorium. And then the spirit box, which is on the phone, it's an app on the phone, which is used worldwide. Right? Yeah, it's called Necrophonic. It's really well, it's very good. And it's been used by, ghost hunters all over the world. And we had both out. And all of a sudden, it just started going mental. As in, it was names were coming through. Everyone's trying to talk at once, and the K2 meter. So it's basically got green, goes all the way up to orange, and then red. Now I've seen it spike red like very quickly.
Sure.
This thing went. Well, actually, before I turned that on, I had the spirit box, and I turned it off because I couldn't make sense. And and when it was off, it was still talking to me.
Oh, fuck that!
This is true. This is it's on. I turned it off, and it said it's off, and it's still. Then I put it in my pocket, and it still turns itself back on again. I've pulled it out. So while the phone is off in normal mode, the voices are coming through my phone, and I'll show it on camera. This is crazy. Then I got my K2 meter out. It went to red, and it just sat there, non-stop. I've never orbs. I don't know. You're familiar with orbs? Yes, they were everywhere. I have another app on another phone, which is an SLS, which basically outlines a figure. Like if I put that on you, you would see a green outline of stick figure of you.
Oh, okay.
And you can put that, and then it detects spirits. And again, I've used it. Another example is the Broome Cemetery where I went with my son. That's a perfect example. We were talking to a spirit on the end of the grave there, which came up that way. So we used this. No outline came, but people were walking in front. There's no one there. Someone's hand was in front of the camera.
Full.
It was full. It was unbelievable. It was all white, and there was, and then all of a sudden these the plants. This is the middle of the night. Were purple. Came out purple color, and there was someone's hand in front of it. It was. I can't wait to put all this together. It's probably.
Oh, so that's an ongoing thing now that you've got.
I've got it all there. I haven't edited it.
Oh wow!
So it's about to be put out, but it's crazy, and that shows how. And we just couldn't. I couldn't even really communicate with anyone because everyone's coming through. But this is standing on the cement slab where the mortuary was, and the crematorium. We got very little.
Wow.
Oh, I've got to tell you, even something else. We get home, and Lulu's. The next morning, Lulu said, something really weird happened last night. I said, what's that? She said, it was like, and she came up to me and she just blew warm air in my ear. She goes, that was constantly happening for a while. And I was awake and I could feel it. And I'm going, stop. I know, this was at the gym. I said, stop. I'm not going to tell you anymore. We're going home. You got to watch this. So we went home. Now, there used to be, I don't know if they're still doing it. They're called Paranormal Hunters. It's a Perth, two guys, I think Darren and someone, Paranormal Hunters. They went to that crematorium, right? And this is back in 2017, so say 5 years ago, right? They couldn't get much in that crematorium, the same one we were at, right? And then as they walk outside, Darren says, mate, you have no idea right now. Can you feel that? And he goes, no. He says, what is it? He goes, it's like someone standing next to me blowing warm air straight into my ear. Exactly what Lulu told me. I said, did you hear that?
So it's probably the same spirit.
It would be. But I love this shit because this proves that I'm not loony.
No, you see, that's the thing. Like with Tammy and yourself, I'm like, well, it's not that I don't think people don't believe.
No.
I think it's just more that they don't understand,
No.
They like, what is this?
And it's true because you know what I've found? Since I've been doing this actively and now it's, I guess, my full-time gig doing this, everyone I talk to, whether they're friends or people I haven't met before, it doesn't matter who, every single person will always have a story.
Yeah.
But they don't want to believe it, or they don't want to explore that, or maybe they just keep that in there, Lulu's dad, I have to say this, he said to me, no, it can't be right, and I don't believe. However, there was this story, and he told me 3 stories in a row.
Where is he from?
He's from Australia.
Okay.
He's Australian,
okay.
Yeah. But he spent some time, I believe, over in Thailand and also in...
I was going to say those countries.
Yeah.
There is no non-believers there.
No, and the thing is...
cultural thing.
Yeah, and the story he told me was in reflection of exactly what, and it might have actually been the Philippines, I'm not sure, but it was exactly what they believe in as well. And I said, well, how do you explain that? And he goes, I don't need to explain it. It doesn't need to be explained.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
okay. That happens. So
I don't believe in ghosts, but I hope to hell I never come across one in my life.
that's right. Exactly. That's right. Yeah. So, that you can't deny that. And whatever it is, it's there. And I've seen more than enough to prove it. My daughter, she's 9 years old. I have two boys, 16-year-old and 11-year-old. My daughter, and she sees them all the time as well. She's very open to it, and it's again not something that
Isn't
because of
that
me.
funny? Hey, I think it is. I think it's because it's a hereditary thing.
Yes,
Like because the girl Tammy, she sent me a message last week and saying, "Look, if I ever come on again, if you want me on, can I bring my son?"
Yeah. Okay.
He's also got some
Same.
fantastic stories to tell, and I was like, "Well, yeah, it's just." It's funny because
It is.
I love talking. I'm like you. I love talking about this too.
Yeah.
Because you discover hopefully certain answers you start answering yourself within that you've got questions for.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, I believe. Is it a spiritual thing? Does it breach into, for instance, if I'm a very staunch Catholic or a staunch Muslim and I pass away, do those beliefs that I had create that paranormal realism in the afterlife?
It's
You're
right. It's funny. It's
Nice.
because people do believe that you can take your addictions with you. You can take your, the spirit you are. You take humanly things with you.
Are you talking about physical things or traits?
No, actually, yeah, the feelings. So our
Oh, yeah,
emotions,
okay.
If we've been, say, something traumatic happened, or you take that with you. Apparently,
I think so. Well, how do you explain past lives?
Oh,
as in, or also reincarnation.
Yes.
So you have 6-year-olds coming through and saying, "Well, I died in a plane during World War in this island here."
It's been proven. How would they know?
Yeah, how would they know? Sad. It's scary for the parents, though.
It is. Oh, very much so. Yeah. And it's. Look, my daughter never met my my dad, and my mum passed away a few years ago, and she was very young at that age, she talks to him all the time. I'll be driving along. She goes, "Oh,
really?
Yeah." And so she calls them Uma and Upa because they're German. And they're just here. They say hello. I'm like, okay. And she's talking away to them. And then she goes, "Oh, they're gone now. They said goodbye, but they'll visit you in a dream." And I'm a believer in that too. I've been visited by my parents in my dream. When you were talking before about not wanting to call them back, but that's
well, I said to my sister, don't come back to me, and because my sister, what she'd do is she'd come and scare the shit out of me, like purposely, like she'd pull my ears and drag me off the bed.
Yeah.
I did say, if you're going to come, just come in my dreams, and she has.
Oh, has she?
Yeah, she's come in my dreams, and it's been really nice in that way, But it's, I'm always thinking like you, there's this curiosity in me. Where do we go? Is it our own? Do we just go back into the ether of this? Is it like, how the Star Wars, they say we are part of everything.
We're all fragments of God.
So that's why we can be there, we can be there, we can be there. Like, so when we pass away, do we then go back into that energy of everything? Who knows?
Who knows? But if that's the case, then what's creating what we're talking about now?
Or are we creating it?
Are we? And that's the other thing.
An actual physical presence.
Yes.
Are we creating an actual physical energy presence that can be a vehicle for spirits to come into? I don't know.
I know. It's true. It's crazy.
I'm like this 24 hours a day, Marcus. Don't worry.
I love it. I'm the same. I'm just it's.
But what I was getting at before is a cultural thing. When you go to Asia, like I have been on YouTube, and I've seen, especially within Korea and Taiwan and Japan, they can go to these deserted like factories and homes where families have just left because of a spiritual attack.
Yeah.
And what they experience. Now I'm thinking, is it because it's so prevalent in their belief system that when they pass through, they still hold a lot of those beliefs, which is why it is so full over there. It's like in Burma, in Myanmar.
Right.
There's physical things that you see that you can't explain. It's Benin in Africa. In South Africa, when I went, there's a place, not in South Africa, but there's a place called Benin where voodoo originated from before it went over to the Americas with the slave trade. Now, there are things that happen in those rituals where these huge grass skirts, like these things will spin off the ground. been caught by cameras on 60 Minutes. I mean,
Yeah.
they can't explain it.
Yeah.
But if you talk to someone there, yeah, they've actually summoned the god of this and summoned the god of this. So you've got these spirits that are being specifically summoned for these sort of purposes for the last 1,000 years.
Yeah. Oh, our house is haunted. Our house is only not even 2 years old.
Yeah.
And my daughter actually came running up twice to our bedroom, one night after the other, saying that someone's pulled her blankets off and pulled her shirt up and was tickling her on the back. And we've heard noises before that.
But that could be your dad too, right?
It could be. I mean, my dad would not want to scare her, but something strange happened the second time she came running in. It was about 2:00 in the morning, and I was laying in bed, and for some reason I wake up, and I heard this in my left ear. I heard this growl, like a row, right?
Not good.
No, it didn't. I went, and I said, Lou, did you hear that? He goes, no. And I'm going, okay, that was weird. So I just got up, and as I got up, like that's when Misha came, and she was crying in her bed, because she said someone was scratching her back, and since then, a few nights later, it was a bit windy outside, but our bed sort of faces our balcony, and the outside flywire doors jamming all the time.
Sure.
But it's a double door.
Ours.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a double door, so you can slide it from one side to the other.
Sure.
Together. And that night, Trent, my middle son, came in. He said I was hearing noises, and I said okay. So, and then for some unknown reason, the three of us look up at the door in front of us, and we see the flywire door from the left, gracefully, very gracefully, with no noise, go all the way to the left, and made a bang like it was. I said to Lou the next day, I said, come have a look at this. I opened the door up. I said, try and move that flywire door. You can't.
Yeah, I know.
It's all these little things,
little things.
And to me, it's like I actually enjoy them, as weird as that sounds, because I know that there's.
I was going to ask you that, but there is a pull to discover more.
Yes, it's like an addiction, nearly.
It's an addiction. Because I said to Tammy, I was like, with your experiences, surely you've proven enough. And she goes, Wayne, it's not about proving it.
No,
it's an addiction. She goes, I'm curious to know more, and I'm wanting to know more. And you just open this doorway and you want it to walk through it and discover more and more the answers of life and afterlife. And so,
100%.
Have you been to Midland?
The town hall.
Yeah.
There's a few places there, which again, the paranormal, probably plugging them a bit because the paranormal hunters.
Yeah.
They're from Perth. They've done that. They've gone to Albany. They do it a little bit more. I mean, I like, have a bit of a joke in between. I'm not the most serious guy. Whereas these guys are very, they'll set up the cameras, very systematic, and this is what it is, and this must be this, and so I like to leave it up to the audience to believe what they believe. All I can say at the beginning is we always come in with the utmost respect.
But I think, I remember you saying that.
I
remember you saying that, and I do believe it's an energy that you hold. Like you can go in as professional as you want, but they're not attracted to your equipment.
No.
They're attracted to the energy that's there.
Yeah.
And they know whether you're respectful or not.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I presume
I hope so, yeah. I mean, even cemeteries. I'm an advocate for cemeteries because I believe you walk through a cemetery, all the people laid to rest there.
Yeah.
They've all changed our world. They've made our world for the better or worse of what we're living now. I'm guilty of it. I don't walk through the cemeteries enough. Sometimes I just, and it's the most peaceful, beautiful place.
I was going to say, it's very peaceful.
Yes, especially at night. It's so, I love it. I love it. And, it's, and I'm actually on edge hoping that I can.
But, Marcus, if you and I passed away, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to be hanging around at the bloody cemetery.
No, exactly. No, you're right. You're right. That's, and I think sometimes you're right. We're looking for, I do wonder whether they come back or
maybe to find out who is coming there, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, there was I think the first one I did on Bon Scott when I was talking to him for the spirit box, and I said,
really?
Yes.
Oh,
far
out.
Yeah,
really?
yeah. I've done two of them now, and the first one might have been during the day. I can't remember now, but he actually came back. Sorry, he actually. I said to him, what's the best song you've ever written, or what's your favourite song? And it came back clear as from memory. I think it said either We or Me. I can't remember now. No, okay, well, that doesn't make sense because afterwards when you edit it, you listen to it.
Yeah, sure.
Then I Googled it up, and it was one of the first songs he ever wrote was called Me. And it was before he went to AC/DC, but it was one of his first songs he's ever written. Now, I didn't know that. So, to me, there's proof. And when you say, like you said, Tammy had proof, but it's just going forward. I mean, I will tell this story, and obviously without any detail, but the job I was in, my job was to attend fatalities on a regular basis. We went to one in a country area once, and we got there to investigate the crash itself. I never saw not even a photo or anything of the victim or the deceased, I should say. Driving back, I was driving back. It was about 8:30 at night. I had the sergeant next to me. We were driving along, and for at least half an hour, maybe even longer, she was sitting in the back seat just looking at me with a contempt face. Now, I never saw her, right? When we got back to the office, I said to the boss, I said, you go home, I'll put in some stuff on the computer, whatever else. Because I want him to go because I wanted to have a look at her driver's license because I hadn't seen her. And I pulled the driver's license out. Now, that's enough proof for me. It was her to a T.
Wow.
And I never looked at that. I never saw that. So when people say, yeah, but this and that, you know what? To me, I'm convinced. I mean, that's just one story.
Of course. Yeah.
But it's, and you wonder, do they want to just let you know they're there? Do they want to,
What's your goal? What's your hope? To help the lost ones pass through?
I just want to see them. It's there's no real if I can, that's great. But I also I'm not a medium. I can't sit here and start, I've seen some great mediums, they can scribble and they can talk to people who do come back. So just how do you compare that?
Different devices.
Yeah. But I mean the mediums that talk to the people who've passed on saying, and I've gone to a medium after my parents passed and she didn't even know my parents had passed. And she said they're both standing there, described them to a T,
really?
And described my mum and dad to a T, exactly everything they're doing, and that they're fine. Now, and they're fine on the other side. So that tells me they're fine where they are.
Yeah.
But they've come back to tell me that through the medium.
Do you know where you should go? Fukushima, Japan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was a documentary. It's actually really sad is because all the cab drivers there, they're picking up people in the middle of the night, getting in their cab, driving them home. There's no one in the car. And the cab drivers have started to go to the house, knock on the door, and sure enough, they've lost a family member, and they'll describe who they lost during the Fukushima disaster of the tidal wave. But apparently these cab drivers are getting these spirits coming in their cars all the time. All the time.
Not just a one-off.
No, they'll actually sit there and say, last week, I picked up this person talking.
I was going to say, they'd be talking, they'd be giving the address and everything.
Some of them don't talk at all, just give the address. And he'll just be looking and he'd have a feeling, is this another one? And then suddenly he'd get cash and he was like, it's no. And then there's times where this person would just look at him and then just fade off, when he gets to the destination. Wow. So they've started to go into these houses and it's these lost, they had a group of kids that were together.
Really?
That this lady that was driving this transport vehicle saw, and she stopped. And these kids asked her how to get home to, which way is it to this? And then as she would start to drive away, she'd look around, there's no one there.
No.
Yeah. So I hear that was interesting though. It's quite sad though.
Yeah, it is sad.
They're still making their way home.
Oh, that's really sad. Yeah.
One Buddhist monk said to me, karma, he goes, it can be explained in many ways, but you live not the same life over and over, but every second you live over and over until you perfect that. Then it goes, everything. So when they say about Buddha,
wow,
Buddha is the accumulation of many lives, as in he will talk about millions of lives to reach that state of nirvana, of lessons throughout those lives.
Wow.
So in our lifetime, you could come in as a 6-year-old and then die as a 13-year-old, and then you come in as you're born and then you die as a 50-year-old. You're born, you die. So there could be, but they reckon, but they believe karma is within the second, within the minute of reliving, of reliving. I love talking to people about different beliefs and what they believe. But
what do you believe? I've got to ask you this question because you're in deja vu.
Yes, Look, I've heard it explained by science, and I've heard it explained spiritually.
Okay.
So the science made quite a lot of sense too, because they just said, your left eye and right eye has a lens.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes what deja vus to them is that the image that you see on the left lens that gets transferred to the brain and then interpreted by the brain is 0.0001 faster than the right eye. Sometimes that happens.
Okay.
So your brain gets this image, and within split, or not even that, it gets the image again. But you start to go, I've seen that image before.
Quite interesting, because you do, when quite often when you have deja vu, you just stop for a second, and then
I love them though.
Oh, they're great, aren't they? I try to prolong them so I can work them out.
We held that excitement in really good there, Marcus. Oh,
I
love them. Oh, fucking great.
High five.
What is it?
Yeah, exactly. So,
well,
what was the spiritual side?
Dimensions, parallel.
Yes, that's what I've heard too.
Parallel dimensions, and I don't have any evidence for that, but I'm just more and more. I'm starting to go, there is something to that. I listened to Elon Musk talk about it.
Yes, yeah,
and not just Elon Musk, but Neil deGrasse Tyson.
All right,
and he's an astrophysicist, and so I think the parallel dimensions, parallel lives are something that just, I don't know. I'm just like, is there endless amounts of me out there?
Well,
and I have to be the best looking out of them all.
Well, I was going to say that.
Damn it.
You beat me to it. High five again.
We are the best of the best of all those.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
God help us. God help the other Waynes out there.
See, now you're religious, aren't you?
But no, like you, I often think about that.
Yeah.
I think about, when we dream, are we dreaming our lives that are being awakened on the other dimension? And when they go to sleep, they dream about what I'm
doing now
when I'm not sleeping here.
Wow.
Like there's a window into each.
But I love it. It's,
because
it just doesn't stop. I mean, something else I'm a very big believer in, and I said I'm not religious, but I believe in the universe. I believe in manifestation. I believe in, we're all energy. Everything's energy, and vibrations. The higher the vibration, there's so many things in my life that I've manifested, and I've watched. You would have heard of The Secret. I've watched that at least 20 times. Sometimes I need to remind myself about, being grateful.
Gratitude's the big
gratitude's huge. Big one.
One thing I learned from my sister's passing is enjoy the simple moments in your life, because they're often the most beautiful.
Yes.
We get so caught up in the rat race.
Oh, we're not living our lives the way we should.
We don't stop and just go, look where we are.
Yes.
I mean, here we are in a beautiful state, having great discussion in the middle of the day.
Yep. Exactly.
You're doing what you love. I'm doing what I love. Lulu's doing what she loves.
Yeah, she punches me in the face.
And you love that. again.
Yeah, I know.
Again.
Yeah, stop it.
But no, but I'm like you. I'm always asking those questions. Always, and it's nice to talk about it, because there's stuff that you've experienced. I mean, this is your podcast today, but the conversation,
it's great. I've learned a lot.
But I also think we are still learning, and I think in 1,000 years from now, we would have evolved into a stage where we can explain away a few things.
Yes, yeah.
And isn't it funny? Because I think the ancients could explain.
Very much so. You look at some of the, some of the ancient art. Where did they know that? And there's a lot of halos and spirits that
Well, all cultures.
Yeah.
You got the South Americans.
The original art, yes.
I had on, he was an AFL legend at the time, Phil Narkle.
Oh, Phil Narkle. Yeah, really? Wow. Okay.
I had on Phil. Again, here we were. He's got this new coffee and tea brand that they're promoting, and a really good idea, and that they're getting Indigenous youth to train them up as baristas and send them to manage these coffee places. So I thought, I grew up with Phil as a kid, looking at him on television. He was this footy star, and now he's doing these really good things. There we were talking about spirits and the spiritual world, and a lot of it he couldn't say on camera.
Yes.
Because in the Indigenous community, you've got to be really careful who you release information to.
Of course.
But when the camera is closed, he said, Wayne, And his cultural spirit stories were fantastic. Marcus, you'd have sat there for hours.
I love it. Yeah.
And he did say, he comes from a tribe called the Yellow Feather, which is one of the most powerful tribes.
Right.
And all this information will get passed to him at the age of 60. And he was turning 60 2 weeks after that podcast.
No
So they're
way.
talking like when he turned 60,
Wow.
all his ancestors start to come through. And he's already seen a lot of them within, animal spirits and things. So fascinating, but very similar to the Native American culture, I found.
Yes.
The indigenous here.
Yeah. Yes.
But anyway, so
No, it's interesting. You just mentioned something that is still, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that wonders how that is, but animals, and all the way down to insects who don't actually, I think, scientifically have brains, but they just work on instinct. And I believe that the ant is the most like to a human, because I heard this once, because when you see anthills, they actually keep the temperature by opening and closing doors. They actually,
wow, really?
yes, and they actually harvest and grow things in the ground, and it's crazy. They have seeds and they plant the seeds and wait for them.
Well, you think about it, communities, and they have the hierarchy, and they all work.
But at what point don't you have a soul? This sounds weird, but
if a living thing has energy, that was my point, and that energy stops, the energy still goes somewhere.
Yes,
it does. It's like Carillion photography. You take it of a leaf and you cut the leaf, the infrared, and you take the leaf away, and the picture of the full leaf is still there.
I have heard of that. Yeah, I have heard that.
Energy goes somewhere.
Yes.
It doesn't just stop.
No, and I've also heard that if you actually cut a tree or a leaf off, now with these scientific microphones, you can actually hear the plant screaming. Have you heard that?
Oh, really?
Yes. They've actually got that on audio. I was looking into it. They can actually hear that, if you pick a rose.
It's a life form. Yeah,
yes,
it's a life form.
It's like, oh.
God, can you imagine how scary that? Oh, just the thought of that.
I know.
Poor thing. You imagine like the screaming that's going on in this world with all the at the Amazon and the Amazon and all of that.
I know. I mean,
but is there a wooden table, Marcus?
oh, now we're getting.
You see a wooden table?
I do.
I don't see wood at all.
You're playing.
Who's right? Who's right? To me, I see a black laminate table. You're saying it's wood.
Anyway. I've wondered that too. Do we see different things? Is my orange your blue? It's.
But that's why it's so fascinating to talk.
Oh, it's great
to talk about
this. I love this. Yeah, and it's not even so much about the ghosts anymore, is it?
No, but it is about perception.
It is. Yeah. It is.
And it's about like those little things we're making jokes of are very serious discussions.
Yes,
that people have.
Yeah.
The fourth dimension and the third dimension, and this is just vibrations.
Yes,
we see it as a physical object. We joke about it, but there are people that people now manipulate that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good point. I mean, like I said, I still believe that our vibrations go up and down, and that's our moods as well. You kick you wake up in the morning and you kick your toe, and the rest of your day will turn to shit because you've let it. And I've done this. You need to set yourself back and go, okay, and just be grateful for your healthy children and the life you've living and everything that's.
It goes back to an old Stoic philosophy of ancient Rome, and they say the quality of your thoughts is the quality of your life, and it's so true.
It is. It is.
But look. If people want to follow you, where can they go to? So
I do have a YouTube channel, and it's Hauntings Extreme TV. So it's the one word, Hauntings Extreme without the E. So Hauntings Extreme.
Okay.
Space TV. I've got about 6 or 8 videos there. I've obviously with the COVID situation in the past, it's been very hard to go.
Sure.
Even to get access to areas. But now,
is it opening a bit more where access is becoming a bit more of a thing that is accepted now?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. It's it's funny. I mean, I went to the Roundhouse and I've asked if we can go there at night and be locked in there.
Free.
See, I like the challenges too. Lock me into the most haunted place for the night and, unlock the door in the morning.
Crazy bastard.
But, I love that stuff. And it's not to, poke at maybe it is to poke at the spirits a bit, but, it's not there because I enjoy this, and people
Yeah.
enjoy.
But I also think the spirits can pick that up too.
Oh yeah.
You're not coming
no one
in with
takes me
bad
serious.
intentions. It's like
No.
you're a jolly guy that's coming in that's overly curious.
Yeah, and if I feel there's negative, or like I said, if I feel that I'm overstepping my respect, then I will pull back. It's it's
Yeah.
like having a conversation.
That's
If I start walk around and sit on your lap, I'll probably over welcomed. My stay. So you know what I mean. So I respect that. You don't want that. So, and it's the same with the spirit. It's the same with anything in life. So what you remember is the majority of the spirits, I believe, have lived lives.
Sure.
So, we're not talking to, unless we are talking to aliens, but we are, or they understand us, or they've been around. So, to me, like I said right in the beginning, it's a humans you need to be scared of.
Yeah. So what's your goal for the YouTube channel?
Oh, look, I love traveling, so I want to start traveling.
You've got to.
There's
mate.
so many places to see. There's so much to bring. And
Perth's such a it is and it isn't. We've got one of the oldest cultures in the world here, But you going through Southeast Asia and Japan, and if you're interested in this sort of thing, it's out in the open there.
Yeah.
Like
it is,
you can't help but even in old Europe, even going
Yeah.
to some of those old places, and you'd love it.
No, it's
Is
great.
that what you want to do?
I'd love to take this to the road and as in overseas, even over east. I mean, as you know, WA has been the most protected border in the world, not just Australia. So it has been tough. And yes, there's places in Perth, but even getting in there, I've asked access to areas, and because COVID, everything gets cleaned, and so they don't like people being there at night. So there was a lot of I guess walls to go through, but now it's opening up, and I'm going to try and my aim is to get at least 1 to 2 videos every week. So
easier said than done. Hey,
I
it's
know.
like me going, I need a podcast every week, and it's just like something comes up and something comes up.
The week's
and
gone.
Man, this week I've got 4, and then last week, and so it's not easy, but I think that's the goal, right? Is to keep aiming for consistent,
Exactly.
in that way. Man, all the best, and hopefully
thank
this
you.
won't be the last, and maybe come on again and have a yarn about stories. And
So you are coming out one day with us, yes? Nearly.
It'd be the last time you want anyone coming out with you again. You'd be like, oh, Jesus,
Yeah, no.
So do you have an Instagram?
Yes, I do have Instagram, yes.
I was going to say, get one.
Yes, Hot Teens Extreme, yes.
Those stories, man, do your stories and reels. They get, and if you hashtag correctly on those, all my listeners, all my listeners have come probably from Instagram stories.
Really? Yeah. To really look into that. It's,
because I can attach Spotify directly to Instagram stories, so people can click on it right in the story and get my podcast.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, I've got to check that out.
Yeah.
That's good,
So
I'm not that techie with all that, so I definitely want to.
I can help you with that.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Oh,
yeah. Like I'll come through one day and just like we'll share knowledge.
Awesome. No, thank you, mate. I don't know what I can teach you, but
Man, always a pleasure.
Yeah,
Thank you so
never
much.
do that again, mate. That was a bit. There we go. So, you know what? They grabbed the finger.
Thanks,
Wayne. It's been
I wanted to
awesome,
scare you, but I thought that's not going to work, eh?